guys, welcome back to my channel. I am super stoked to be making more videos lately, like I said I was going to do when I started. I really appreciate that people are watching them. It's a little bit crazy, but thank you. And shout out to that one dude or lady who keeps downvoting every video I make. I mean, if there's something up with them, like I know they're a little bit boring probably, but if there's something up with them, shoot me an email at hello@lovechloejane.com and let me sort it out. Like, who wakes up in the morning and just thinks, how am I going to stuff up people's day today? Don't be that person. Come on, send me an email. Anyway, let's get into it. As you can see, I am in a different filming room. This was my housemate's room, but she moved out a few weeks ago, Miss Loretta. So instead of just leaving it empty, I thought I'd take advantage of the very good lighting and do something with it. Here I am, which is kind of convenient because today I wanted to talk to you about buying a house. When Patrick and I decided to buy a house, we got all sorts of information from everywhere, but a lot of it we got were from, you know, our friends' parents and things like that who haven't really bought recently. So I thought it would be cool to give you some of the information that we had in 2015, and if you're thinking about buying a house, it might help you with that journey. It's super exciting. Congratulations if that's something you're thinking about. It is probably one of the best things we've ever done. I mean, our dogs are freaking awesome, but buying a house is really cool. Like I put up this mandala throw about 20 minutes ago and I just like nailed it into the wall. I'm gonna look back on that and really regret it, but I can, and no one's gonna get mad at me, and that is pretty cool. So, saving. That is something everyone asks us about, is how much they need to save to buy a house. So you need about 10 to 15% of your entire house cost as a deposit. So that's what you need to put down straight away. Then you need a little bit more money, even a little bit more to pay your stamp duty and pay all your fees for your conveyancer and things like that. So there's lots of legal fees you need to pay, which aren't really included in the price of the house. Someone will go through them with you when it's time, when you're talking to someone seriously about buying. But I would say having about 20% is really safe. And I know that is so much money. Actually, 20% is probably a little bit high, maybe like 15 to 17% is good. I mean, 20 is great, but who can save up that much money, right? So for example, our house was $315,000 when we bought it, and like, I'm gonna put that out there because anyone could just Google it and see how much it cost, right? And we needed a deposit of about 35. So yeah, a little bit more than 10, a lot less than 20. I actually don't know where I pulled that from. But yeah, that got us through. Another thing people ask me is, do I need to be working full-time to buy a house? No! Oh my god, I've never worked full-time in my life. When we bought this house, I mean, Pat works full-time. Go that dude, he really helped us out there. But they don't really take into account that level of security. They took on my income even though my jobs were completely random. So that's the next point. You don't need to be working full-time. You can be working casually. You can't be working cash in hand. You can't count Centrelink. You can only count a money from your own business if you have the last 2 years of tax receipts and if they sort of measure up to how much they'd like you to be earning. But you do need to be working for a minimum of 6 months for them to count your job. So if you get a job thinking that you might like to buy a house and then you hate that job, do not stay in the job to buy a house. You know, wait another month, another 2 months, like get yourself into a job that you love, especially if you're only a few months in, because you're going to be stuck there for a while. The third thing I want to say is Homestart is not a dirty word. We went through Homestart to buy our house. They do have a higher interest rate, which is probably something that your parents have told you. You know, no one wants to be paying a higher interest rate, but to put it in perspective, the interest rate when we bought was like 5.7% at Homestart. It was only 3 point something percent at the banks. We could not get a loan from the banks. Like, we were 21. We did not have $1 million in savings. We were not making $1 million a year. There was no $1 million anywhere. And to be honest, we kind of found it hard, to get the banks and to get a lot of the other lenders to take us seriously because we were so young. When we walked into Homestart and we met with Aaron, this really cool guy, who just basically saved our lives in terms of buying a house. He was approachable, he was friendly, he wanted to do every last damn thing he could do to get us into a house, and that was really refreshing. Anyway, so our Homestart, say it's like 5.7% interest rate. Back when my parents bought for the first time, the interest rate was like 15%. Like, it was insane. So when you think about it that way, 5.7 is not too bad, especially if you're getting your foot in the door. And you only need to stick with your lender for as long as it takes you to, I'm getting a bit technical here, build up enough equity in your house, put enough money back into your house, or your house worth grows enough that you can go with another lender. That's a little bit complicated, but I mean, if you are in a situation too, you can swap out the next day. Like, it's fine. Just get your foot in the door. Homestart, 10 out of 10 would recommend, especially if you've been sort of shopping around and you're not sure who to go with. Point number 4, go to as many open houses as you can. Patrick and I were really lucky because we spent a lot of time before we moved out house sitting. So we lived in all these different places and we really got a grasp on what we wanted, where we wanted, what was important to us, like location, house features, things like that, and what we could really compromise on. So if you can't do that, especially if you can't do that, and even if you can do that, go to all the open houses. Firstly, you will work out really quickly what matters to you, and what you do need to prioritize. Secondly, it's really flippin' fun. Like, it is such a cool activity, whether you're buying with a partner, you're buying with yourself, on your own, you're buying with some friends, even you're buying with a sibling, whatever. It is so much fun to walk through all these different houses and imagine yourself living there. And it's so much fun, I think, to kind of feel like you're on the block and to walk around and be like, oh, that wall color is it just gives me a headache. Or to walk through a house and you're like, perfect, oh my God, love it. And then you walk into a bathroom and it's all black and you're like, what? Oh, I sound like such a loser finding that fun, but it's so cool. Yeah, it's just, and it makes things feel real as well. And there are some really, really helpful real estate agents who you'll meet along the way. And, even though you might not end up buying from them, they'll give you a massive hand in what you should be looking for and things like that. Like, quite often they're standing around kind of bored, and it's refreshing for them to see someone get into the market, and hopefully you'll remember them in like a million years time when you're selling your house. So it's kind of a win-win. Okay, and then when you get your house, that's the next thing, right? There were a few things that I found really, really to be big learning curves before we moved in. Two of those stand out in particular. One of those is that you do not need your own house inspector, right? We paid like $600 to get a house inspected, and they did the worst job. Like, there were things, because we'd only come through the house once prior to getting a house inspector in. There were things that were just so incorrect, and they were like, yeah, they're fine. No, they're not fine. That is wrong. So we actually found, and this is such a personal thing, I'm not trying to put any house inspectors out of business whatsoever, but we actually found that Patrick's dad coming along and having a look at the house did us better than the house inspectors doing it. They did a walkthrough a little bit earlier than Patrick's dad did, but he found so many things that, it's not that we wanted a lower price or we didn't want to buy the house, but it was just good to bear those things in mind, to know how much it was going to cost us once we moved in and things like that. Whereas the inspectors cost like $600. Like, they were so expensive, especially at a time when we do not have much money. Like, we're buying a house. Like, we are broke as shit. And that's something I really wish we didn't waste our money on. So, you know, get your parents, get someone who owns a house, get someone you know that invests in property, get someone that knows what they're looking for to come through with you. You can absolutely request that. Don't pick, that'd be my other point, don't pick an inspector just because your real estate company tells you you should. And definitely don't pick an inspector that your real estate provides you the details of, or that your real estate company says they work with often. Because if they work with your real estate company, like if they're mates with your real estate company, it doesn't matter how cool your real estate agent is, they want to sell a house. That's how they make their money. And you don't want to be the sucker who ends up having the real estate agent's best mate walking through the house and being like, yeah, amazing, you should pay more money. And then you don't know what you're in for. Do it yourself. Save yourself some money, especially if you're strapped on cash. If you've got the cash to throw around, throw it at me or spend it, whatever. But otherwise, I'd really recommend doing it yourself. Another point that made our lives a lot easier is that I especially started planning to move out ages before I did move out. So for my birthdays in the lead up to moving out, I always asked for like housey things, or vouchers. Vouchers to Costco are really good because you can set your pantry up for the first like year of your life in a day. Vouchers like Coles Myer vouchers are amazing because you can buy like cheap homewares from Kmart, or you can buy food when it's week 2 and you don't know what you're gonna eat, or you can buy luxury, you can buy like nice things from Myer. Go during their stock take sale or their Boxing Day sale because you'll save like so much money, it's insane. You know, ask your parents and your friends for pots and pans and boring stuff for your birthday and things like that. Don't just say, oh, get me whatever, because they're going to get you like one of those giant inflatable unicorns to go in the pool with, and you probably won't even have a pool, and like they're cool, but they're not going to help you, and you're going to wish you did ask for something boring and practical and super helpful in the long run. Also, think about whether you want a housemate before you moved in. So, as I said, our housemate only moved out a couple of weeks ago, and up until then we had basically lived with someone the entire time we'd been in the house, and that has really worked for us. It saves us money on bills. It's like kind of a cool community thing you got going on. It helps pay for the mortgage, which is always good, especially, you know, if you're not working very much, or if it's quiet, or you've got other stuff you want to spend your money on. And it's just a cool experience, but it's not for everyone. So you can always change your mind after you've moved in, but it's definitely easier to live on your own and go, no, I think I do need some help, and to get a housemate in, than it is to have a housemate in and say, oh no, I really prefer living on my own, because then, like, you're probably not going to be friends if you kick your housemate out just because you want to be on your own. Like, that's all. I mean, it's your house, you can do what you want, but they're going to see it as a bit of a dick move, probably. So think about whether you could handle having a housemate, maybe move in on your own, or if you need to financially, or you want to, whatever, have them in straight away, but you can always change your mind later. It is easier, I repeat, to go from not having a housemate to having a housemate than the other way around. Ask your mum. I'm like going back here. I don't know where I'm at in this sort of timeline. There's not really a timeline anymore. But ask your mum to teach you stuff. Seriously. Before, if you're lucky enough to be living at home still and to be saving so that you can buy a house, which is pretty common among my friends, in the 6 months before you move out of home, in the year, whatever, if you're not living at home, just duck around every now and then. Ask your mum and your dad, no sexism here, to teach you everything they know. So that could be how to like cook pasta, or how to cook your favorite pasta, or how to cook a roast, or how to mow the lawn, or how to wash a shower properly, or like the best cleaning equipment, or kitchen stuff you don't think you're going to use but you really are going to use, or how to get stains out of clothes, or I mean, like how to get a ball off a roof without falling and breaking your neck. Like, these people have been doing this stuff for a really long time, potentially. You're gonna need to know it. And yeah, like, you can always just call your mum 8 times a week when you move out, which I still do, I'm not gonna lie. I think I've asked my mum for her, like, nacho bean recipes. So they're like kidney beans and like taco seasoning and a whole bunch of other secret stuff that you can have with corn chips or in burritos or whatever. And oh my god, they're so good. But I've asked her that so many times. Like, I've written it down in probably 30 different places and I still call her. The reason that I say to ask her to teach you this stuff before you move out is it's kind of nice, right? Like, unless you're a total pain in the ass and they just want you gone, which is, like, it depends how old you are, that's potentially a thing. They're gonna really appreciate you going, hey, you've got skills that I don't have, let's share. They're gonna really appreciate you acknowledging their knowledge, and they're gonna really appreciate that you thought of them. It's going to make them feel useful, especially if you're moving out. They're probably going through a thing when they're like, you don't need me anymore. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun learning stuff from your parents or your grandparents or whoever's in your life or your older friends or whatever, and doing something together and having that memory. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Last but not least, the most important tip, and this one is very specific. It is for people that do not have all the stuff they need for a house. Like, maybe they were house sharing before, maybe they live with their parents still, whatever. If you don't have a house full of stuff, a couple of things I would recommend. 1, Gumtree is your best mate. We got our couch from Gumtree. It was feral. Shout out to our friend Dimitri, who picked it up from the side of the road for us, so it was free. Instead of spending hundreds or thousands of bucks on a couch, we got one from the side of the road, actually in a really dodgy area, and it was free and it saved us so much money. And then shout out to our friends Lucas and Mabs, who helped bring it into our house, and shout out to Mabs, who like scrubbed all the whatever, I don't need to know, off of it, because now you wouldn't know. Like, it's a little bit broken, there's some burn holes that I just cover up with a throw, but apart from that, like, it's as good as new. You can buy like your big stuff, like your tables, your fridge, however many fridges you need, your washing machine. You can buy all that stuff from Gumtree really, really cheap. And then when you have saved up a little bit, because as I said, you're probably not very well off at this point, when you've saved up, you can get good new stuff, and then you can sell the old stuff on Gumtree again, and you're probably going to break even, especially if you're buying stuff that's pretty old. My last part 2 of this last hint, which is so good, is to lay-by everything. Groundbreaking, I know. Lay-by everything you can. I had never lay-byed anything before I moved out, but I went to Maya and Kmart and Target and Big W and everywhere I could, and I bought like everything I needed for my house, and I was like, yep, just chuck it on lay-by. It's going to save you money because you can pay it off as you go. Okay, maybe that's not saving you money, but it's easier to pay $50 a week than to pay $5,000 all at once. B, it is so easy to move out when you have lay-by things. So you don't need to store your stuff everywhere and then pack it into boxes and then pack it in the car. We moved in, we got the keys, we undid the house, and then Lucas, again, shout out to that dude, and I drove around to every store and picked up everything that we'd lay by, and we put it all in the car, and we brought it all here, and we put it in all the rooms, and it was done. And it was so easy, and they just looked after it for us. And we hadn't chucked it in some damn old, like, dingy shed and let moths and stuff eat through it. It was all safe, it was clean, and it was new, and that was so exciting. It was like every time I undid something, it was like Christmas. It was like, oh my god, I forgot we got this photo frame, or like, oh, look at this blanket. Like, it was so much fun. Buying a house should be fun. These were just a couple of little tips that I picked up along the way, and I'm sure everyone can offer you something different. But that's the thing you need to remember. It's going to be stressful as hell. I have never been so stressed as I was when we were buying a house. Poor Patrick, I must have just done his head in. But it was also really fun, and it was a really cool experience, and you just got to remember that, because that's what life's all about sometimes, I reckon. Cool. Have a good day. I will see you. You will see me soon. Bye.